The community of Kangiqsujuaq, beautiful landscape, fantastic people, very culturally rich, also facing a lot of challenges.
25 years and under represent 60% of our population, which is a lot of young people.
There is a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, teen pregnancies. We have a very high dropout rate, and we also have a high suicide rate.
There isn't a lot of support for young people here because most of the parents are usually struggling with addictions themselves.
We have scant little in the way of a support system, but then it's always good to have people from outside to come in and talk about these things also.
You good over there?
Yeah.
You're gonna flip it to AV for A for aperture. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so then if you wanted to take a picture of a flower and you want that. So we've chosen photography as a medium for or a vehicle for teaching about mental health in this program because it's a really special art medium in the sense that you have to take what you're given in terms of your surroundings and the light that you've got and your subjects, and you have to use your skills to make something beautiful out of it. And I think that really ties into mental health in the sense that if you think like a photographer and you go through your everyday life trying to make something beautiful out of your everyday life, then your whole quality of life and your outlook can be a whole lot better, and it's just the way you frame everyday situations to make things a little more positive. So if I want that blur in the background of Madeline, because Madeline, she's awesome, I want her to stand out in this picture, do I put it on a low number or a high number? Do you guys remember what creates that blur in the background? Low. Awesome.
I think it's really important to have youth exploring their talents, and photography is one of the venues that can be very effective.
The door doesn't open too often, but when it does, my heart, my mind, and I'm lifted. All right, kids are getting something that a little bit from knowledge from the south. Even a teacher is going to have little knowledge from the north. It's going to mix culture. This is good.
So if you open your eyes really, really wide on a bright sunny day, you'll see a lot of light, right? But if you squint your eyes when you go outside, it doesn't hurt as much because there's not as much light coming in. Does that make sense?
It's really important because they will be teaching me skills that I would be able to give back to the community once they're gone. So I'll be able to teach more youth about it.
Some of the more challenging things about this community, I think, are for people to see themselves as they really are. By that I mean to see all that they have to offer, the richness of their culture, their experiences, to feel that they belong in a modern world but can still practice their traditional culture. And this sometimes gives a feeling of hopelessness, I think, to some people, especially the youth, because they're really caught between the two worlds.
I'm worried now because there's a lot of internet and they're just doing like this town, not talking to the parents, not talking to the family, and they're not going out. They're just in their room. So it's make me worried a lot.
My name is Patrick. It's great to see some new people here today, and I'll be talking mostly about mental health, not the photography. But you can take pictures of me if you want.
Mental illness is not talked about enough in my small community. We need to do more.
People post about their feelings on Facebook because all they say is just, please don't take your life. People love you, but nothing else. That's all they know.
To put it in a nutshell, I'd say the kids compared to us, my age group, and those who came before me, they're more or less like caught between cultures. It's quite the challenge for them and for us too, who have professed to be the keepers of the culture. It's a tough uphill battle.
So imagine if you were being called insane or disgusting or crazy and dangerous. So if that was you, what are some words that would describe how you feel?
I was having a hard time when I was a teenager. I was so shy and I was not talking. And when I was 14, I was out of my mind. So, because I was not talking my problem. And I always tell the teenagers, you can talk about your problems.
We talked about all the words about mental illness, and then imagined how you would feel if all those words were being used to talk about you. So you can see all the words we came up with were negative and were upsetting and hurtful.
I can tell you that it is a phenomena that is quite recent for us. It only really started with alcohol in the mid 60s, up to the 70s and 80s and so on and so forth, and it has not really been getting better. And then, you know, in the late 80s and 90s, then we start seeing, you know, like drugs. Couple that with, you know, the problems that we face pretty much every day. Lack of education for kids, you know, like we have a very high rate of dropouts and whatnot. So there are many factors that contribute to the things that ails us now.
We often talk of using traditional medicine or therapy techniques, but it's very hard for young people to relate to them because they didn't grow up in that type of environment. They're born after 2000. You know, so they don't have the same experience as their parents and grandparents, and they really need support.
You know, whenever we organize workshops, like parenting course workshops, healing sessions or grieving sessions, we invite anyone to come, and we get very little number of people. And I don't know, I've been trying to understand, why aren't they coming? Are they shy? Are they in denial? Are they reluctant? I don't know.
I think at a community level there is support, but the youth don't always see it and have trouble finding it when they are in crisis and need. There are a lot of adults out there that really want to help, but they don't know how to do it.
Kids these days they want to experiment on things, alcohol, drugs. So I preach a lot, teach a lot to the kids. Not to take any package from anybody or take drugs.
Suicide is a very recent phenomenon too. When I was growing up, there was none of that, and you know, since the first one that happened in the mid 70s, now it's been sort of like progressing with some frequency now. I have to say, we are quite affected. I mean, you know, we know the kids are like in pain to get it to a state where they figure that life is worthless. You know, that's quite the statement in itself. And yeah, like I am affected personally. Having lost a son quite recently, who committed suicide. I mean, I try to to keep, I don't know, some positive perspective to, when I'm dealing with kids.
Mental illness,
So imagine if you had a mental illness, or if it was me and you heard all these words about you.
Being in a small community, we are so isolated. I mean, like it's not hard to imagine oneself as being in the middle of nowhere with limited means of contact with the outside world. And what we try to do these days is like there is actually life after tragedies like that, and the ways of dealing with it is to expand your mind actually, and deal with other cultures. Is dealing with other cultures is one, and of course making yourself preoccupied, keep busy is another.
I do believe that the youth are trying to tap into it on their own terms, but they need to find their own way in terms of culture. And I remember being told that being out on the land was like medicine to people, and that healing happens when you get out on the land. However, some youth will say, well, I don't want to go out because I don't have my Xbox, my iPod, whatever. But when you get out there, like for example, the traditional camp that we do in the summer, after a week, when the iPod batteries are long dead, the youth are so into it, so engaged, so interested in learning the traditional activities and the history and the experiences they have. And the next day when we get back from camp, they want to know about next year.
I'm happy that they are going out. We are going out at summertime to teach them, and we're having a culture day for the school for 3 times a year, and that's very good. And when we are at the FM, we are talking about the history and the language.
I am here with a program called Northern Lights. With 2 of my colleagues from the South, we are here to promote mental health and wellness of youth through photography. We hope that all of this will create a more supportive community. The first step to facing mental health issues is creating a supportive community.
So I was talking to some elders before I came up here, and I asked them, what can I do? How can I help this community? And they said, our community is wounded. It's bleeding. We have been through so much trauma, so much tragedy. And if you can help, just put a little Band-Aid on this cut. Maybe together we can close the wound of the past. And that gave me hope. And so I'm still here 21 years later.
It's been a great week, learning a lot of learning going on, I think, all around. You get to see participants in the project learning, and also a lot of learning for myself personally. So it's definitely been a very enriching experience.
So being able to have the youth say something in their own voices is something so spectacular and so strong, and we just want to make that and use that to its full potential.
Our project is called Northern Lights, and we've called it this because often mental illnesses like depression can feel like darkness, and what we want to do with this program is bring some light into the lives of students that live in the north.